Yeah, alright. To summarize for the video, since I was silent there. um, three kinds of comps that I can think of. Hard engage, which is where you have like a lot of area CC, you have a lot of area damage, you have AD carry that comes in to clean up, but your goal is to have basically all five there and make the team fight happen. And just do it quickly before they can run away. The other type is a poke comp, which is where you have things like Lux or Nidalee or Caitlyn, any of these kind of characters that can throw long range stuff, and your goal isn't to get in like direct team fights, but to just hold lanes, gradually poke them out, and then engage them once they're at low health. Yeah, so that's another kind. And then the split push comp, which is where you usually have a team of four, kind of like Cam mentioned earlier, that can hold itself really well. And then you have either a team of 4 or 3 that can hold really well, and then 1 to 2 others who can push other lanes really fast. And their goal is just to keep lane pressure the whole time. And that way it's really easy to keep control of objectives, it's really easy to keep map awareness, because you always have those lanes pushing up, and they can't afford to leave lane, so they have trouble buying, they lose out on creep farm, all that kind of stuff. And so that's probably the most macro of the 3 strategies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are other strategies beyond that, but those I find are the 3 main ones that you see.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth that I would just point out is that you can have a balanced comp. You can have a comp that's got a little bit of AoE, you know, some strong duelists that have the potential to split push, but not necessarily going to do that all the time, so on and so forth.
Is that really what you want, Will? To be on the...
We can do that. I'm down.
Alright, here we go.
What's going on? Oh.
Yeah, I'm just giving us a custom so we can ping on the map and, you know, be the different roles and all that jazz.
Can we be the ball?
Be the ball. That's right. What do people want to be? I'll be something like fire, so I don't have to think too much.
Be the ball, right?
Be the ball. Be the ball. Ben, you want to play my ED carrier, or do you want to play support? Also, are you crap?
I could
See the
play...
ball. Be the ball. Right.
I have some carries, I guess.
I don't have
could
Rammus.
try out carry. Oh, were you going to show Rammus? Was that what's going on?
No, he was saying to be the ball, and I don't have Rammus.
Oh.
So I'm like failing.
I see. I see.
Restart? Why? What happened?
Wait, what? Yeah, I'm not going. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we could restart.
I was very confused when you guys were saying, "Oh, let's go. Who wants to be what?"
If you feel the ball, you get arrested.
'Cause-
Don't feel the ball too closely.
Whoa. Whoa. We're going down a different path there.
Yep, that's a whole
I don't know what's going on with my computer right now.
Don't always get arrested, that's true.
It's all about time and place, man.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's,
something.
Time, place,
It's all about context. It's all about context.
Whoa. Hey, my computer is being retarded right now. Don't know what's going on. I'm trying to open the task manager and it's not doing it.
Yeah. So, Cam, you silly. No, I'll probably need you for demonstration purposes. So.
Oh.
What the hell is going on?
I was gonna demonstrate split pushes. Because
So
we'll do it all
go
game.
So while Ben is figuring things out, yeah. So I mean, those are the 3 main types of team comps. There are other things that can be done, like you can have really assassin-heavy comps, or, you know, or like Cam said, you have a more balanced comp, something that can do a little bit of multiple of these things. Like it's totally reasonable to have something that can split push,
generally
and poke,
speaking,
or split push and engage well.
Yeah, I mean, so generally speaking, you want to have something that balances at least 2 of those aspects.
Yeah.
Especially in a blind pick game, you want to have something that balances at least 2. Like if you think of a Venn diagram, right, of the split push comp, the poke comp, and the, you know, AoE team fighting comp, right? You want to be in one of the intersections. Probably not the middle, Because if you try to get everything, a lot of times you can just lose cohesion. So generally what you're aiming for is something that's one of those other intersections, something that's got a lot of poke and good split pushers, because those two things work really well together, because you can have your high poke people that can clear lane really well, right? Like if you take a Sivir and throw her into, a heavy split push comp, Sivir can hold a lane, or Mordekaiser is another good example, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sivir and Mordekaiser can clear a lane of creeps in about, I don't know, half a second when it comes to mid-game. So they can basically hold a tower by themselves, and you can have the rest of your team go split push, because they're just that strong at clearing creeps.
Yeah.
So by balancing a comp like that, you can do crazy weird split pushes. Like if you've got good vision, you can have Sivir hold mid tower and then send two people to both of the other lanes and do a dual split push, which is just nuts. And nobody would ever do that, but you could. The option is there.
Right.
If you're, really ahead.
Yeah, it's like if you're really ahead and you have good ward coverage, and that you can
But
do
I mean,
that.
the reality is like, if you do that, right? If you manage to get in a position where you can pull that off, their only defense to that is either to break and, push the other lanes, right?
Mm.
Go break up their team to go deal with your dual split pushers, or they can group mid and try to push down that tower. But what that means is you're either going to trade 2 towers for 1, or likely they're going to split and deal with your pushes, and you're going to push up mid because it's so hard to push against Sivir or Mordekaiser. So, it's kind of a win-win.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep. No, it's all true. Ben, how are things on your end?
Well, I'm running again. I think Steam has been eating up a lot of stuff for some reason. I don't know why.
Weird.
Nom, 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 nom.
Nom, nom.
Yeah.
It's whole around. Hard processing.
I'm gonna close some of my Chrome windows too.
Oh,
I got a
Choice.
bunch of those open.
Do you have 15 bajillion Chrome windows open?
I have a bunch.
I'll do it.
At this point, a bunch that I don't need.
Alright, let's get to the custom. See what happens.
Well, I heard the sound, but PvP thing is not gone yet. Not changed. Up there it goes.
Fired up and ready to
It is slow as
serve.
hell. Holy crap! What are you doing? Okay.
Very unfortunate.
Oh, I don't have any rune sets or something for other stuff, really.
Oh, well, what do you want to play?
Well, what I have set up right now is that.
Okay, do that. That's
Actually
fine.
goes.
Teach you how to blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is fun. Alright, so blitzcrank, in a nutshell. So everybody thinks it's all about the pull. And don't get me wrong, blitzcrank's pull is good. But really, you want to hold the pull most of the time. And wait for that good moment. So, one of the biggest early mistakes people make with blitz is all they do is hang around and try and get the pull. And then they do the knock-up with the, like the punch with the E in order to get some stun in there, and they just drop everything after they get the pull. But really, that's not the right way to play him. What you want is you want to use the fact that he has one move that gives him really good move speed, and he has a knock-up, right? So people will be scared of you, right? You can move in front of their face, and as long as you don't take too much harass damage, you can really scare people. And you can do things like, if you manage to flash on the AD carry, knock them up, your AD carry does some damage, then as their AD carry is running away, pull them in. You're going to get a lot more damage overall than if you just blew everything at once. So I think that's the biggest thing with Blitz, is knowing, like, when am I just trying to get one of those opportunistic pulls, and when am I trying to be a support who's intimidating or defensive. and hold on to that
and the best
pull.
way, it's kind of like if I don't know if you were around for when we were talking about ganking with hard versus soft ganks.
It is a lot like that. Blitz
but
is one of the few.
it's exactly the same tactic. The scare tactic is to land the pull, right? Go way out of your way, be really aggressive, and throw out a pull. Because chances are, like when you're in lane, right? Chances are, Blitzcrank is going to take more damage out of that than anybody on the other team. But it's a scare tactic, right? It's getting them out of your face so that the AD carry can CS, right? Whereas, if you're really going for it, if you're going for the kill, you want to be, sneaky and try to sneak your way up in the bush and slowly move up in lane, pop your move speed, run up and knock them up, let your AD carry get in, and then wait until they're running away and they're clear of their creeps. Then, when they get to max range and they're just out of your AD carry's range, then you throw out the pull, right? Then you throw out the pull and you pull them back when they're already down and they've already used their scapies to try to get away from you, right? Then you pull them in, and then your AD carry finishes them off, no problem. And chances are, a lot of the time, I've seen this, the support goes, oh god, my AD carry just got pulled back, starts running back into lane. You might get a double kill out of this, right? Where you wouldn't have gotten anything before.
Right. Oh, nice. Dude. Hi, Lynn Vega, by the way. That's awesome. I keep meaning to switch over to OBS, and I just, I'm going to sit down one of these days and actually do it.
Oh, you haven't done it yet?
Nope, still using XSplit.
It still works for you? Oh, that's good.
Yep, still works. It's taking a long time to get into game, BT dubs. It's because Ben is taking forever.
Yeah, I think that's my fault. My computer's still being shitty right now, and I really am confused at why.
Gotcha.
Wait, so Luke and Will, how come you guys don't have bronze borders?
Good question.
Do you not get bronze borders?
I think was like eons ago, or no? We played just enough to get placed, but not enough to get borders. I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what happened. So
is there no?
So what happened? I got into silver, right? Bronze doesn't have a border.
Oh,
so
bronze. Well, that answers my question. That's all good.
I used to have a silver border, and even after you dropped down to bronze, I had a silver border. But then they
you
reset
had the silver border
queues.
from last season.
Right, but then they turned off the queues, then turned them back on, which is why you still have silver.
Right. You had that silver from season 2, not from season 3.
From season 3.
No, okay. So the silver border that you had was from season 2. They just now distributed the season 3 borders and rewards.
Oh, Chrome, why are you such a piece of shit?
Oh man.
Oh,
guys, I got my ward
7
skin.
days? That sucks. Yeah, I'm not sure if Nightbot will let you post a link or not. In the Vega,
right.
But that's what they wrote on the ban. Pretty awesome. Okay. So, where do we go from here?
I have way more memory than that. Okay.
Yeah, so I've probably talked about Blitzcrank too much, but I actually think in lane he works a lot like other supports, especially like Alistair, other CC supports, where you can use your skills as intimidation more than anything, and try not to blow them all at once unless there's a good reason, or like you're trying to, like you get that pull and you just really badly need to hold them down because they're going to run away, and you need to just kill them before they can get away. But I think actually the hardest part of Blitzcrank is knowing what to do with him when you get to team fighting, because in lane you can get those pulls sometimes. You can do the normal intimidation tactic where you kind of run at the AD carry's face. When it comes to team fighting, Blitz, you have to decide: am I trying to get the pull to make an engage happen, or do I want to do something like run up in their faces, or even like flash in their faces and do a knock up on a key player, and then run away and pull someone in later? Those kind of decisions are not easy to make. So that's I think where the real complication comes. And the big key, that just takes a lot of practice. That just takes feel, really. I would say if you think you have a chance of pulling out a squishy, or if your team has a decent lead, pulling somebody in can be a really good tactic, and just using that as your engage. But if you have an area CC comp, it's arguably better for you just to run in with Blitzcrank, full steam ahead, get that knock up on a key player, and then you have this awesome engage to work with for the rest of your team. You might die, you might, take a lot of damage, but it's worth it because you'll still, if you can get out of the fight in particular, you'll still have that pull, so you can isolate a key player halfway through the team fight. That was the worst pull I've ever done.
That was that was the worst pull ever done.
That was horrible.
Oh man, so the exception to the no, never mind. I was gonna say something, but it was totally off base.
Fair enough.
Well, not totally off base, but
Totally
somewhat off base.
off base.
So yeah, so you see that I didn't even use the pull, right? I just went up to Tarek, knocked him up, because I knew Cam was close enough that I didn't need to do the pull. I can hold the pull for when he's away from creeps, and he's totally wide open for a pull. Yeah. So, it's all part of the... See, this is it again, same thing. Oh, except now I gotta threw down the exhaust so that Cam won't take too much damage. And then now that this guy's a little ways away, now I do the pull. Cam gets that last hit, and we get the kill. Right? So that's a much more effective way to use Blitz, and it's a way that early players, overlook because they're so obsessed with getting that pull, right? The pull feels like it's everything when you're Blitz, but it's really
especially
not.
because when you've never played Blitz and you've only played against him in lane, you feel like that pull is the scariest thing in the world.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, that pull is scary. Like, well-timed, that tactic is still good.
Oh yeah, especially because if you can wait till the very end of a creep wave and pull the enemy champion into the middle of all of your creeps, that's a lot of damage early game. It's a lot of damage early game.
Pulling them into
like,
tower,
more than
pulling
your
them
AD
out of
carries
their
getting
tower.
off.
Like, all of that is really good stuff. And all totally... But that's the main thing. The pull is really for positioning, if anything. Right? Like, that's... The pull is for exploiting positioning. Everything else is its actual, kit for being a support.
I mean, the team ranked is, or the team ranked. I was looking at chat. The threat of the pull is almost more
more scary than the pull itself.
Useful than the pull itself, right?
Yeah, because they have to sit behind their creeps. They won't be able to push up if you're holding onto the pull. Like, that intimidation factor should not be underestimated. And that's not just with Blitz. That's just in general as a support or any character. Don't underestimate that when you're holding skills, they know you have those skills. They can't, if they're going to jump on you, they have to believe they're really going to win it if you're holding all those skills.
Yep.
And if you've used those skills, realize that this is probably when they're going to try to engage you, so be a little more cautious. Here's the part where Tarek's being really dumb. Now I'm going to pull him back. Cam's going to get the kill. Classic stuff. Classic stuff. I'm considering knocking up this Wukong too, but he's running away, scared of us. Alright, so let's get back. That's enough Blitzcrank talk. Let's get back to team tactics, team composition.
Team tactics!
So, when it gets to mid-game, there's a couple things. Yeah, Blitz is very counterable, as Lynn Vega mentioned. That is...
Yes.
Like, he's definitely counterable.
Even
something like an Annie
lane,
right now
frankly,
is really good for countering a Blitz, because that CC is going to wreck both Blitz and the
or
carry.
someone like Alistair, who just utilizes Blitz's pull as a free engage.
Yep, also solid. And Leona, Janna, Thresh, those are all great ways to counter Blitz, if you play them properly.
Thanks for the mana!
Right. Let's see. So,
Tarek tried to stun me.
When it comes to team fighting.
Oh, Silver is rough.
Okay, let's start with this.
Holy
so when it comes to mid-game and late-game tactics, right? So early game, you are doing things like creep control is important, and getting them in certain positions in the lane. But usually that's just to set up ganks and to sort of keep farm on your AD carry. When you get to mid and late game, the reason you're pushing creeps is for map control and map awareness, right? Your goal, and in order to provide enough pressure that they can't leave lanes, right? That's part of what gets you that map awareness. So the mid to late game is where things like the split pushing starts to come in really heavily. Things like you want to keep your creeps pushed up as much as you can, partly so that they can't leave lane, but also so that you have control of objectives, right? You know where they are. If you have your lanes, all the way pushed up to here, then you have decent control of Dragon and Baron, right? They're going to have a hard time going there without losing creeps and turrets. Whereas you have totally free roam to do it. So a lot of the strategy is about setting up those situations where they can't leave because of the pressure that you've caused. And moving your... And the key is you need the balance of that, right? You need to make sure that when you get in a team fight, you have people in the right position so that you can actually win that team fight, right? Like you want to fight, you have 4 people, they have 3 people, rather than the other way around. But at the same time, keep lane pressure, which requires people being in other places. And that's where the real skill comes in, is balancing those 2 factors. And making sure you balance those 2 factors in such a way that you can get objectives that are important, like turrets and Dragon and Baron and buffs and so on.
Oh man, speaking of ward, check it!
Honest!
Sorry, that was non sequitur.
So that's sort of, in a nutshell, the macro strategy of mid-game in particular. Late game is similar, though you're going to be doing more things, you're going to be doing the same switching, but you're going to start pushing into their base. And the big thing is, if you take down inhibitors, it's a huge deal, and you can take a lot of advantage of it, because you're going to get free push on that lane. So that's probably the biggest difference between mid and late game, is that those inhibitors make a big difference and allow you to be able to push a lane without having to be there, which is why it's such a huge advantage. It makes it really easy to keep...
Abortion? What?
I should check if there are actually people on my stream. Means I'd have to open up Chrome again.
I earned that skin.
Yeah, you did.
I got myself placed in silver and earned it.
Yep.
Which skin? You can earn skins?
Ward skins.
Well, there was a ward skin to earn from...
the wards, right.
Yeah.
Forgot about those.
Because I was silver ranked at the end of Season 3, so I got my ward skin. And I got my sword border.
Oh, they're coming up through
Well,
river.
Silver just used her ult for
right
nothing.
Now. Do you guys want to kill them?
I think.
They're coming up through
What does
river
Silver's
right
ult
Do you
do
wanna
now?
kill them?
Yeah, sure.
Or is it
Silver's
not in
ult
effect yet?
gives her move speed, and gives her... Nice.
So that was another one of those polls that I held on to because I knew somebody was going to try and run away from the team fight, and that's when you want to secure the kill. Because they believe they're low health and have a very
Except that you tried to pull the
path.
wrong one.
Yeah.
Except that you pulled his clone.
True. Other than that, though, you see the idea, though. You see the concept.
It's true. The concept was there. However,
The execution was not perfect. Yes,
execution flawed. Concept's
agreed.
good. Yep. It was good. It was funny. I
Alright.
got a good laugh. Chuckle.
Oh, Silver's down there.
So the next part of, another thing worth talking about.
Punk.
So when it comes to, for different team comps, engaging in different areas is better or worse, right? And there are basically there are 4 main areas. Never mind, 5 main areas. I'm just going to keep adding numbers as I think of places. 5 main areas where team fights happen, right? They can happen in lane. They can happen in the
river.
open. Right? Yeah, in river. When I mean in lane, I mean like, by turrets, that sort of thing. The other thing that's possible is either in river or open in lane, right? Where there's just a lot of open space to work with. I'm just like, it's hard to talk and play at the same time.
Oh, we missed the pole.
Yeah, we're just kind of owning, which is kind of good because it gets us to that mid game, late game quickly, and then we can stall and talk.
Oh no!
Seriously, neither of us got that?
I got one last hit on her after you did, and then I could have just barriered and tried to get the next hit, but I didn't have the move speed to catch her. My ult is down, and I don't have the mana for it anyway.
Right. What else was I going to say? Yeah. So you can be fighting in lane, sort of near turrets, that sort of thing. You can be fighting in the open, either in river or in lane, which is a different kind of team fight. You can fight in jungle, either yours or theirs. And the thing about jungle is there are going to be bushes and ways of escaping. So it ends up being, and lots of walls, lots of barriers. So it's a very different kind of fight. And then the next one, the last 2 places are either near their nexus and near your nexus. And those
So the
are
enemy
sort of
team actually
core-
does have an AD carry.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, they do. They have Sivir.
She just wasn't bottom.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yep.
I was pointing out for chat.
I see. So yeah, so I would say those are the 5 main areas that fights happen.
Well, I mean, this is a custom.
What kind of?
This is not a real game.
Yeah, this is a custom. These are bots.
This is a bot stomp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm going to... Chrome, let's try this again. Are you gonna freak out on me?
So,
Yep.
yeah, in each of those 5 areas,
Whoa,
different
that's a
people
lot.
are better, or different team comps are better in different areas, right? For example, if you're in the open, that's
Thought I'd
really good if you're an
taken
area
those
CC comp,
Whoops.
right? Because in the open, it's very easy to dodge their skill shots. It's very, it's easy to wait for that engage, and then the second there is, just drop everything before they get a chance to escape.
Alright.
And when they try to
Get
escape,
that
they're not going to
TCH.
have a lot of escape.
I need to
routes
rename
to take.
this stuff.
So that's what. So in the open, really great for
Whoa.
area CC comps, basically, for those hard engaged type comps that just want to
God,
drop
Chrome, you
everybody at
suck.
once. Now,
Yeah, any bot can get scary.
it can also be good
So
for
can Rise bot.
if you're poke comp in the open like that, either in river or mid lane. It can be nice only because you get a good sense of where they are. Right, you can often get good vision. They're not going to jump at you from out of a bush out of nowhere unless you have poor warding in your own jungle.
Broadcast
So it can be
uses a bunch.
good for poke comp, but you have to be careful that if they get an engage on you, it's going to be bad because you're going to have nowhere to run. Nice.
Will
How am I
Sea
using
Slinger, so I was
7.9
Other
gigs of
stuff.
RAM?
So as
You have an instance of
how much
if
RAM do
you're-
you have?
so if you're a poke comp,
No,
right,
I don't have Firefox open. I have
Or if
Chrome,
you're an assassin
but Chrome
comp,
isn't the one that's using it all.
what you really want is to fight in jungle, right? Because it means as a poke comp,
There's
you can
nothing
run
that's
into
over a
bush, you can
gig.
then throw out your skills without them seeing you. You can, use flash in weird ways to escape over walls.
Bitch.
All that stuff. And as an assassin, you'd be really good at pursuing anybody who's trying to escape in jungle without taking too much damage. So, if you're doing the more wily kind of stuff, where you've got, poke or assassination, jungle is a really good place to be, and you want to have fewer fights out in the open, because in the open, those hard
Oops,
CC comps are going to hurt really bad. So, that's another tip. What are other good things along these lines?
Well, I mean, there are some generalisms about, like, when, how and when to push for a lane.
True.
Alright. There we go. And...
Okay, guys, we have to not end this game too fast.
You know what we should do is play a co-op versus AI game.
We could do that. But let's
Though,
switch to their lanes.
We need a fifth.
take a
Okay,
pick.
never mind.
I need a...
I'll just stop.
Go here.
Stop taking the
We should
fighting
stop
the
kicking their
queens.
asses. I know it's hard.
Okay, so it is hard, man.
Counter jungling. So we talked about
Right.
counter
Alright, just
jungling
bought
in another
most of my
episode.
stuff. Boots.
And counter
That's what I
jungling
need.
is really important. It's essentially the equivalent of fighting in lane for, the other lanes. But it's not really team fighting.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
Alright.
Don't get me
Well,
wrong.
I mean,
there
it can
is-
be.
There can be team fighting as far as your counter jungling goes. Just like there's team fighting when it comes to, ganks and
Gank.
lane and
Alright.
such, right?
Mhm.
And jungle is exactly the same way. Like you can definitely set up, in particular things.
But it's
like
a lot
having,
easier to set up a multi-gank in jungle than it is to set it up.
in lane. Yes, like a really
Oh,
common
Luke, I
one,
think
right?
OBS
Because you
lets us
have-
do...
if they're counter jungling you, for example, having your top, like if they're trying to take your red, say, or just harassing your jungler while you're trying to take red, having mid and top suddenly leave lane and go into jungle is a really good way to defend against that. Especially because sometimes they'll go in with 2 people, right? Like maybe they'll take their top with them or something to go and invade your jungle, and that 3v2 allows you to deal with if their mid and top suddenly invade. So counter jungling, I mean, you're totally right. That is a whole nother part of this. And it kind of goes along the same lines of there are certain comps that are really good at doing things like running into the enemy jungle as a team, hiding in a bush, and then jumping on them, right? Those kind of bush parties and such. Certain comps, like the ones I've been talking about, are really good for that sort of thing, and others are not as great. Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about, like...
Legendary.
Nice, well. I was just going to say, do you want to talk about, say, for example, how... you know, how do you build a team, right? So if you could say, okay, especially, and this is more pertinent when you don't have a pre-made, but if you don't have a pre-made, right, and you're in blind pick or draft pick, right? If you're in draft pick, you know, you're going to be able to see who the other team is picking and what they're kind of picking, but you're also going to have to judge, like, what your team is picking. So knowing certain synergies is really important, and knowing how to balance a comp is also really important. Because remember earlier I was talking about how you don't really want to have purely one, you know, one style of attacking, right? If you go pure poke comp, you're gonna have all kinds of problems, right? Because they'll just split push your ass, because you'll have no way to defend against that. So what you need to do is build a comp that has some poke, right? But also has, you know, a really strong tank with some AoE, right? Like Sejuani, for example, right? If you build a really strong poke comp, right? Say Nidalee and Lux, you know, if you go Nidalee top, Lux mid, and then you've got, I don't know, Jinx bottom, and then you throw Sona and Sejuani jungle into that, all of a sudden, your poke comp went from being a pretty flimsy poke comp to being a poke comp that also has a massive amount of CC.
Nope, 3 here.
And some really hard engage by means of Sejuani, who can tank really strongly and CC the crap out of everybody. So, in so doing, you've created more of a threat. Because, okay, if you don't have that engage and you don't have that tank, what's going to happen is you'll sit there and poke, but the other team knows that you can't act on it. So, you know, basically, if you've got the means to act on something like that, then you poke them down, you've got them hiding under their tower, and all of a sudden you just dive them with like 3 or 4 people, and all of your poking, right, is now turned into free kills. You know, likewise, in a team that's all about team fighting, you need to have somebody that's a really strong duelist, like Jax or Tryndamere or something like that. So if you get into a stalemate because the other team realizes that you have a stronger team fight, so they're deciding, well, okay, we're just not going to fight you. We're going to hold off, and we're going to try to do split pushes and stuff like that. Then you can leave your group, you know, leave your team as 4, really strong 4, and send off Jax or Tryndamere to split push, right? To break that stalemate.
So maybe one thing worth talking about are sort of the elements that you want to have in a comp in general, right? It's like there are core things that you're looking for. You're looking for tank and dueling intimidation, right? Which is often what top is filling, though it doesn't always have to be.
Sometimes it's jungle. It's one of the reasons that Sejuani is really valuable, is actually because she's a tanky AP jungler.
1, I came for food. 2, I finished Attack on Titan. I'm like, what?
Good show.
I'm like,
it's a good show.
Feels.
I'm actually streaming online right
Hello,
now, so
sister.
I can't but
Oh well. Hi, all
it's my sister in the
Fluke's
background.
little sister. One of 2 little sisters.
Yep.
Family time.
That's one of them.
Right.
There we go.
So what was I saying? Yeah, so you're looking for, you know, tank, intimidation kind of stuff, which is typically a good dueler. So often it's top that's filling that role. You're looking for CC. That could be coming from the jungler. It could be coming from mid. It could be coming from the support. It could be coming from top. But looking at how much your team has as a whole is important, right? To know how much are you going to be able to jump in on engagements? Who's going to be that person engaging and why? When people are trying to run away, who's going to be the person who's catching them with either CC or assassination stuff in order to keep them from getting away and securing those kills?
When to chase is something that we should talk about later.
Yeah, when to chase, you're right. It's definitely
after
something
we talk about this.
We'll have to come back. We'll also have to come back to level 1 in jungle team fights, because
sure, we can talk about that. Okay, so Lindvig, you bring up a good point about assassins. I would change. There always has to be an assassin. There always needs to be either an assassin or a duelist, because if you build somebody who's just an assassin, assassins can be really valuable. Like Eve, for example, or who else is a good assassin type character? Like Zed or who's the one I'm thinking of? LeBlanc, right? LeBlanc is the classic quintessential assassin character, right? Single target, heavy nuke.
After the nerf. Fair.
After the nerf. Well, okay, she's a tickle, but her character premise, right?
Right.
The character premise behind her is still an assassin character.
She just doesn't feel it very well anymore.
Right. She doesn't have the kit to do it, and she's not strong enough as a character. But, regardless of that, irrespective of that, she's still an assassin-based character. Yeah. But anyway, then there's characters like Kassadin, right? A lot of times your AP is going to be either a heavy AoE or a very devoted assassin type character. I tend to prefer having more AoE from my AP carry.
Agreed.
Because I'd rather have a strong top. Say again?
It's partly because of how our comps work.
True, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are absolutely viable comps that use a heavy assassin AP carry. But more often than not, your jungler or your top lane is going to better fill that assassin role by being a duelist that can serve the role of either split pushing really strongly in case they have to deal with more than one, or
oh my god,
they're going to deal with or they're going to be able to sit in your comp and really dive into the team without risk of dying, right? A lot of assassins, if you don't have the team coordination just so that you can have the assassin jump in and pick people off, or jump in, pick people off, and then jump back out. If you don't have your team comp just right, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up having your assassin jump in, maybe take out somebody before getting completely stun locked and bursted down. Now, and that leaves you then a man down with more than likely very little loss on the side of the other team. Oh look, we finished the game. I was jungling.
Stealing all my memory.
I took Will's
we were being all silly.
Job. You were being silly. Okay. Yeah. So. I prefer not to win customs, by the way, guys.
Why?
Because I don't want them in my match history. I'd rather have real matches in my match history.
Does it matter?
Sorry?
No, I just don't see the point. I'd rather look, when I go to look at my match history, I prefer to see what I did in real games.
Sure.
Then, oh look, I got 50-0-20 in... No, it's not.
And AI, co-op versus AI is better.
Are we in co-op versus AI now? Oh, we have a fifth. Okay, cool. Yes? I don't know.
That or we can do a normal game. There's more to talk about.
Let's do a normal game.
Okay.
Yeah, normal.
There's still more to talk about. So we'll be talking at the same time, which will make life tricky.
That's fine.
Well, alright, well let's do Okay, so let's just talk through the process. Let's get into team select, and we'll talk through the process of deciding our team comp.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you want to do it in blind or in draft? Because that gives another extra kind of level
let's start out in blind.
Yeah, let's start out blind.
Because we can really get into options it's easier to talk about comp when you're in blind, just from the more basic sense. We should do a draft pick later, because we can talk about counter picking and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's definitely something worth talking about at some point. We might get to it this time, we might not, depending on how much time we have.
Sure.
But in the meantime, let's briefly go over level 1 team fights. So, with level 1 team fights, the key things you're looking for are, at level 1, how much damage do they have? How much damage do you have? How much CC do they have? How much CC do you have? Based on what skills they're going to be taking first and what you're going to be taking first.
Right.
If you win in that...
And there are times when you're going to want to take different skills first because of a level 1 engage, right? Like, you know, on MF, for example, a lot of times you want to take... the, you know, double up first because it's good lane harass. If you're going to go, you know, into a lane, and if you're going to go do a level 1 gank, you're going to want to take Make It Rain first because of the AoE slow, you know, or Jinx, you know, you're going to want to take her E.
And Lin Vega's totally right. A really good thing when you're, you know, if you're playing with people who are a team of 5 like us, if you already know that you're going to be invading jungle, you can often take this skill right away. It's not that big a deal. But especially when you're playing against pubs, you don't always know, are they going to do this invade like you want them to? Are they going to go straight to lane? Are they going to be cooperative or not? So it's often a good idea to use, just like Lin Vega's describing, hang on to your skills. And then when that fight looks like it's about to come and you need a certain skill, then use control and that button in order to grab that skill quickly.
Yep.
Sorry.
And that's totally legit.
I was looking at other stuff.
It's a great way, to deal with what Cam is saying. There's certain characters where you'll want a different skill first level based on whether you're invading or not.
Now, I mean, a lot of times you want to take that CC skill first anyway.
Yes.
But, you know, just to prevent the level 1 fight as a defensive play.
That's true. It's oftentimes the same stuff for invading is the same as for defending at level 1.
Right.
So.
Right.
Hey, Luke, how much memory is XSplit taking up for you?
Let me start my task manager.
Yeah, exactly. Ari's a good example. It's funny. I was playing a ranked game the other day, and I had an Ari mid on my team,
XSplit's
and our jungler went to gank
250,
and they didn't get the gank,
maybe
and the jungler died because, and then he started just totally bitching at our Ari, being like, what kind of an Ari doesn't take take the taunt first or the charm first, and it's just like, well, okay, most Aris don't take charm first unless they know they're going to get an early gank or they know they're going to invade, because Q is just better for farming, for sustain, for everything else. And it was just completely ridiculous. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly. Charm is a very defensive play with Ari. Like, incredibly defensive. So if you take Charm level 1...
I mean, it's a good skill, you know? Right, no, dude, that jungler was so mad, bro. It was ridiculous. And, it was bad. That was the game that I was telling you about, Luke, where the Riven on the other team went like 15-0-4 or something like that. It was in a ranked game, too. It was depressing. I was sitting bottom lane, duo queued with a friend of mine, and we won our lane hardcore, but it didn't matter because Riven was mid, got fed by the jungler, first blood, and then the jungler came back with AP mid. Ari had just gotten like level 2, so picked up charm. Jungler goes back about 3 seconds later, dies again, and it's just like, oh my god. This is the beginning of the end. And sure enough, it was.
So Ben, how are things looking? Are we ready to get this going?
Why would you pick Garen against Riven? That's
I guess
dumb.
I can go with it. I'm not messing around with anything else right now. I tried closing as much as I could, but somehow I'm using 89% of my memory.
Nass is so OP right now.
Yeah, of my RAM. Yeah,
Wow.
which is just insane.
That is
And I think it's all Google Chrome, but like I tried adding it up and it doesn't make sense to me.
Have you
So I
tried
think there's something that I'm
organizing
just like
processes
not seeing
by
right now.
what's taking the most to what's taking the least?
Yeah, I have it sorted.
Okay.
Man, and right now it's down.
Nasa dies easy to pretty much everybody early game.
OBS
It's late game.
might kind of suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's so level 1 team fighting. Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get into the game? I feel like there was something else
Cool.
that we had tabled, but
So now Bok
Level
Bob will
one team
get
fight,
two
you
streams
just-
at once.
You just have to have the
Super.
right you just have to have the right comp, and you have to be mindful of the fact that you're going up against
All right.
a certain kind of comp. So
Yep.
you have to gauge, that
gauge
split
that.
second decision.
yeah, and it's mostly gauge CC and damage at
Right.
level 1 and see like, well,
Right,
can we
exactly.
beat them or not? And if we can't, depending on their jungler, right? There are certain junglers where they're going to go early is very predictable, and you can exploit that. So that's another thing. Even if you're invading, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're attacking them. You could just be stealing their creeps. You could be, at level 1, it's totally reasonable to go and take their red if you know they have to be at blue.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's another
I
thing
mean,
to keep
that's
in
the
mind
counter
is-
jungle invade.
Right. That's
I
another
mean,
thing to keep in mind.
the other thing that you can do is if you're early, if you have somebody like Nidalee, right, who's got a long range poke, because people are doing long range high damage, I should say, because so many people do a smiteless level 1 nowadays. If you sneak in, drop a ward on their blue level 1, and just have Nidalee positioned at max range with a spear, if you time it right, you can steal that blue with no engagement at all.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yep. That's one of the best parts about doing an early counter invade too, right? If you go, especially if you're playing, what is it? Blue? Which one's top right? I can't believe I don't remember this. Which team is top right? Is it blue?
Top right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I mean, like,
purple.
wait, blue or purple side?
Yeah.
Top right is a Nexus.
Yes.
Right,
I was
but
wondering
which
what color
color?
that is. That's blue.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
purple.
Or,
purple.
that's purple. My bad.
Okay.
Blue is lower
So,
left.
especially
right is
like
purple
say that
Nexus.
you're playing as purple, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of early game wards, if you go and invade their red, you know that their jungler's at blue. 1, you get their red. 2, you get wards really well placed to see if a gank is going to happen at mid or bottom.
I would definitely not say.
So,
Sorry, I'm responding to a Lindbaker comment. I would definitely not say that Nidalee has no late game. If you're saying Nidalee has no late game, you're not playing her right. She's super
yeah,
strong.
her AP late game is disgusting. Yeah, if she's played properly.
Or AD. Either way.
Or AD, that's
She has a
true.
very different purpose, AD versus AP. AD, there are very few people that are better at split pushing.
Well, any skill shot's dodgeable. The skill with skill shots is setting up situations where they can't dodge it. Right? That's how you're supposed to
And,
use them.
I mean, of course, yeah, sure, cat form is burstable, but you could say that about any AP carry. Right? You can't say that Nidalee is void late game just because cat form is burstable.
And Nidalee's meant to clean up, right? I mean, like, that's
Yep.
what she's really for. So the goal is that you get enough CC down, or you get them low enough with the other champions that she can come in and clean things up while everybody else is on cooldown. And that's what Cat Form's
Right.
supposed to be for. So if
She-
you're jumping
she
in and she's
spits
getting
back.
bursted, you're jumping in at the wrong time with Nidalee. Like,
Right, exactly. Nidalee's whole point is to sit back and chuck spears during a team fight.
Yeah.
Okay, when you've got a lot of AP, you don't have to shoot it from that far to get good damage. You really, really don't.
True story.
You're right, though, that this all comes down to personal preference to some extent, right? Like, it
Yeah,
is a
of
very
course.
slow skill shot, and it does take quite a bit of practice to be able to do it well, and you just have to be good at skill shots, right? So it's...
You have to be good at skill shots, exactly. But I mean, again, her whole point, especially getting the move speed bonus, yeah, that is true that it's better, but that just because it's better doesn't mean that her AP scaling is void. I mean, a spear from Nidalee at even a medium distance
Oh yeah, actually, what you're mentioning
yeah.
there, you totally do that all the time. Like if you're doing those long
Yeah,
range.
I mean, one of the classic things with Nidalee is to shoot it from a bush at max range, and then, cat form and pounce away from the direction of your shot, because you can pick up an extra bit of damage doing that.
Yep, which makes it just that much more effective. Yeah.
But I digress. The way to play Nidalee in a team fight, right? Since we're talking about team fighting, is to sit back. Right? Sit back, let your team engage, throw out spears, heal somebody when they need it, because her burst heal is massive. And the attack speed bonus, if the other team jumps on your carry, you throw out a heal on that AD carry and they pick up that massive attack speed boost, they're going to be wrecking things. And even if they die, they're going to get so many people low that then you pounce in and you'll take people out with a pounce. Pounce and swipe, and you can take out half the health of pretty much anybody.
So yeah, that's the big thing with Nidalee. She's not, she's not really a bruiser. She's not a direct engager. That's not what she's about. She sits on the fringe or split pushes until some people are dropping low. Then she jumps in and does her assassination stuff.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean that's the way to play her, right? Make use of her mobility. She's super fast, right? She can skirt around team fights. She can go all over the map. And that's what she really makes happen. That's true. Yep. And that's what the poke is, that's typically what poke is for.
I think it's funny that you're saying she's weak. If you look at, like, any pro tier list, she's, like, god tier.
I think we're ready.
But,
Ben, are you good over there? Ben, have you died? Yep, he's dead.
Ben's dead.
Pretty sure.
Well,
I'm gonna text him.
it's cool. He was dead.
I'm not saying we're pro scene, but if you're good with Nidalee,
not.
she's epic. She's so good.
Isn't everyone banning her right now at the pro level?
Yes, absolutely.
I know they were last week, right?
But people are banning her at lower levels. I think it's silly for people to ban her at lower levels, but, I mean, that said, if somebody comes into a game and they know how to play Nidalee, and
it hurts.
They get a lane, it's game over. She's so strong.
It's kind of like, I mean, it's similar to what you see with, like, Orianna, right? Nidalee is a high-skill character. If you can play her well, she's incredibly strong.
Or Ryze.
Another high
Ryze
skill.
is another high-skill character.
Yep. So they're ones where, at our level play, they're not really that dangerous.
Unless you've got somebody who's just devoted to that
Unless
character.
you have somebody where that's all they play. And then that can be really scary. So, you're right, though. At the level of play that we're talking about, he's not really,
I mean, it's kind of like Tristana. Tristana's another one of those high skill cap champions because her early game is so
Sorry,
weak.
my mic was off. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Oh, that explains a bit.
That does.
Tristana's so weak early game, but such a hyper carry late game that she takes some decent skill to position and to get really going. But she's so strong.
I know
so
you feel
strong
about
if she gets a
Ryze.
couple early kills.
I've tried to play him a few times, and I've never been able to quite get the hang of him. He's weird.
I like Ryze because he plays AP more like an AD.
That's true, but that's why I suck with him. So.
Yeah, Trist is absolutely a hyper carry mid late game,
Yeah,
but
she is.
Trist is so easy to gank. If you have a decent CC, I mean, she's just got so little health that if you're going up against, like, I don't know, a Blitz or a Janna, somebody that can really, pin her down, she's so easy to kill.
The big thing is Trist's range early game isn't very good, right? I mean, it's been a while
Right.
since I played her, but that
Yeah,
right now is
it's
killer.
not bad. It's not bad, but it's not great.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, there's a reason you see things like Corki and Caitlyn and, these really long-range people being particularly effective. It's just because it fits the meta. Really well
Corki's
right
actually ironic because he's actually shorter range than you think.
now. I know, right? But he hasn't...
His auto attack is really short range.
If you guys wanted to go through team comps, probably now would be good
Yeah.
time.
So...
Now is exactly the right